FNAF World is a fun little game. I like that Scott took the time to make a game like that as a sort of like a mental and design break from the series at that point. I loved when it came out. It was a cool project. It's sad that he didn't follow up on it or continue with it, but I understand that this game is it's a nightmare of a game story-wise, and I guarantee that Scott would take it back in a heartbeat if he felt like he could, or at least make it completely non canon, no threads to see here towards the main story, just a fun little game. The truth is, he could. Tomorrow, he could do another interview with Daco, which is like the FNAF community's version of Papal and Cyclicals, when he does an interview with Daco every few years. The word from the leader himself. He could do an interview saying that FNAF World is not canon. Don't even think about it for a second when theorizing. None of it counts. He could do that. He won't. I don't feel like he thinks he would be allowed to do something so drastic, even though he has in the past with something like the box. Personally, as a larger lore community, we should be open to giving Scott Cawthon or Steelwool permission to openly, candidly break the veil of the fiction and say certain things are wrong or outdated. The series is already a mess and needs cleaning up, real cleaning up, not messy, vague retcons in later games that we have to figure out. Because right now it means that no one piece of evidence can truly be discarded from a theory. Even evidence that Scott and Steelwool could have tossed out forever ago. Anything could be the one retcon. Guys, there's like a dozen retcons. I don't think Scott is a liar in that post. I think that there is that one intentional retcon that he really felt like he needed for himself to reconcile at that point in the writing. But I think there are so many other pieces that have been written over or forgotten since then. And maybe even some before that Scott just forgot about, or sort of an accidental retcon, where he didn't think about it. We don't know what those are. We don't know what those retcons are. We're all out here blind. Sorry for the tangent, but anyway, if FNAF World was the last game, it would have had no problems. It could answer some real questions about the past games, but it could be as meta as it wants. I argue that a goofy meta game, a spiritual FNAF World 2, maybe not exactly an RPG, but something clearly different from the other games, I think that would be an amazing way to wrap up the series when it's all said and done. A good, fun, and meta love letter to the series and all of its characters, and a more personal conversation between the player and the developers, the community and the developers. Good idea. But something like FNAF World only works if it is the final note. Scott gets stuck as soon as he decides to keep going. Because suddenly he adds in a later update a sneak preview teaser for a new, real main series FNAF game. He teases Sister Location, and we hear the name Baby, I think for the first time in FNAF World. Now that he's done this, FNAF World is stuck with having substance, and that means it is up for some similar level of scrutiny as the rest of the series is, as far as examining evidence and answering questions and contributing to telling the bigger story. A lot of people, enough people, think that FNAF World holds some level of answer in relation to things like the crying child, what's in the box, who Golden Freddy is, or who's in Golden Freddy. Now that FNAF World has somewhat sort of tied itself into the canon, now it has to be held with some amount of weight. What in this game is a real clue that we need for the story or for a theory? What instead are just funny meta answers or Easter eggs that shouldn't be considered? Is Scott Cawthon a canonical character in the world of Five Nights at Freddy's? It's shaped like a brain, the map, like the bite victim who lost their frontal lobe, maybe? Is Glitch Trap in FNAF World? Who made this game in the real world? Henry or psychic friend Fredbear or Cassidy? Who is the player? I'm not trying to make fun of those questions or make them sound stupid, but do you see how at first Scott, who was just kind of making a fun little FNAF World game and was going to throw some little sneak teasers in there, or just throw some fun things in there, maybe real, maybe not. Do you see how at first Scott probably didn't have answers to those questions because he didn't think he had to, but now he does. Now they are fair questions. They've become fair questions because somehow, on a quasi level, like a Schrodinger's game, is it true or not? Some parts of FNAF World matter and some don't. They matter at the very least in giving us some hints or clues towards answers about the first four games, maybe even up to Ultimate Custom Night, and we'll never know for sure. Scott and Steelwool rarely give certain dogmatic answers. They like being mysterious and cryptic. That's not a criticism. That's the name of the game that they're playing with us on a mystery and theory level. That's why we keep coming back and playing these games and checking in on this community, right? And it puts FNAF World having to play that game, it puts it stuck in an odd limbo. I think you should play it for fun. It's neat, it's funny. It gives a good scope of where the community was at the time and what the in jokes were. But if you want to use it for theorizing, which I mean, do or don't, that's up to you. But I wish you luck, man. It's a mess. I feel bad for all parties involved. I feel bad. I feel bad for us for trying to figure it out. I feel bad for Scott, who initially just wanted to do something fun and make a fun little game, and it accidentally ended up making things way more complicated. And I feel bad for Scott and Steelwool now, 10 years later, still having to deal with this game as a part of their narrative.